Hi everyone! I'm back again with project number 5 on World Card Making Day. Project number 5 is featuring the Free as a Bird stamp set. It's going to be this super cute chocolate card, chocolate treat. I did just want to remind you, don't forget, with your $25 or more using this host code, you're going to be entered into the drawing to win, the Pick a Pennant stamp set. It's a photopolymer stamp set. Lots of versatility there. And then also by confirming a home party or class, you're going to be entered into a drawing to win the Thank You stamp set. So very much. All right. So let's get started. So this card here it opens up and has a little box for a chocolate bar. I thought it was kind of a fun little project for you to give away. So we're going to start with a piece of 6x12 Designer Series paper. And this is the Bird Ballad Designer Series paper out of the annual catalog, which I adore. We have a piece of Whisper White that measures 4 by 5 1/4. And then we have one of the stitched framelets or stitched dies that comes in this, or coordinates with this set, I should say. So it's a bunch of stitched, nested, labeled dies, all kinds of different shapes here. And these dies are really cool because it gives the stitching on both the inside and the negative space. So there's stitching here when you cut it out, and there's stitching also on the shape. So it's really kind of cool. You can make windows and frames, and you can still see that stitching. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is make our card base. Get out my scoreboard here. Now we're going to score on the short side here. We're going to score it, and you want to make sure that you're scoring at the bottom of your pattern. So if you want this pattern going this way, this would be the bottom of your pattern. You want to score on this side of the pattern because we're going to make, this is the bottom of the box. So we're going to score it at 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch. And then on the long side, we want to make sure that the pattern paper is towards the top of the scoreboard. If you're using paper where the pattern doesn't matter, then this doesn't matter, but you want to make sure that you are putting it up if this is a pattern like this, if it is a pattern like this. So you're going to score at 4 1/4. You're going to score at 8 1/2. Oops, I don't think I got that. You're going to score at 11 1/4. Oh, excuse me, 8 1/2, 8 3/4. You're going to score at 11 1/4 and 11 1/2, like that. We're done with our scoreboard. I'm going to take out my trimmer here, and the lines are probably a little bit hard to see because it is pattern paper here, but the two bigger squares are going to be the base of your card, the front and the back of your card, and then all these little score lines here are going to be the box. So we actually do not need all of this until we get to right here on those score lines. So I'm going to use my paper trimmer to cut those off because I probably would not get it straight. So I'm going to pick the pattern where it's a little bit easier to see. I'm going to line up the second score line so that you're actually left with a 5 1/2 inch card, which is the standard size and will fit in an envelope. And I'm going to bring my blade down to the very first score line of the box. So you're going to have, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 score lines. We're going to do it on the very top one, and we're going to slice off this paper there. And I only use that because, like I said, I wanted it to be straight because it is the front and the back of the card. So then I'm going to trim off all of this here. And all we really need is these little tabs. So this is what you're going to end up with. So we have the back of our card, the front of our card, and this is the little box. And I've cut these little tabs so that we have little tabs to glue it all together. I'm going to give this a little trim here because my cutter kind of mashed it up. There we go. Okay. So now we can go ahead and we can burnish all of our fold lines here. And you could switch this up again. I'm using it just as a friendship card, but it would make a cute birthday. Holidays coming up, any holiday would be fun little card. So I'm going to use the liquid glue because I like liquid glue to make sure things stay together. I'm going to put a little bit on each of these little tabs here. I think it's time for me to drag out a new glue. There we go. And I'm going to fold it up, fold up the bottom to those little tabs and glue those square. And then we are going to hit the rest of these with some glue as well. I'm going to glue this one to this one. And then I'm just going to glue the rest of it all together here. And we're going to fold it over and glue it to our card base. Stick my bone folder in here. And make sure everything is all glued down. So there we go. There's our little card base. Super cute. So now we'll be able to tuck our little chocolate bar right in there. And this still fits in one of our envelopes, one of our medium Whisper White envelopes or the clear envelopes. It'll fit in those for giving away or for, I'm not sure, it would cost you extra probably to mail it because of the weight and the dimension of the chocolate bar. But okay, so now we're going to make the rest of the parts here. So we have the inside and we have our outside that's going to have our little birds on it. I'm just going to take a scrap piece of paper here and get our Memento ink. Which is lost on my desk here. If you could see my desk right now, you would have a good laugh because after all this creating today, it really is a hot mess. Alright, so we're going to ink up the birds that are going to go on the front. I just love this little bird set. It's so stinking cute. Alright, and then I like those three little guys down at the bottom, so I made it so that they were sort of centered in the bottom. And there we have our little birds there. Alright, so we're going to keep the Memento out. And we're going to stamp "The world needs more of you." How sweet. And that's going to go just above. Hopefully I don't get my head in the way, but I just want to make sure I have it semi-straight. "The world needs more of you." And then on the inside, So I got something on there, so we'll flip it over. Your friendship means the world to me. There we go. Now while we're at it, we'll just go ahead and we'll finish the inside. So on my inside, I actually made a little boo-boo down here. I had something that I wanted to cover up. So I just cut out a corner out of the coordinating DSP. I just cut out a little corner to cover that up. But then I thought, well, that's kind of cute. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to repeat that in here. But first, I also wanted to switch this card up just a little bit. And I wanted to give it a little bit of inking. Aging. I'm going to ink the edges just a little bit, not a whole lot. And I'm using Crumb Cake to do this. Just gives it a little extra something. And I'm going to go ahead and glue this little corner on. Oops, helps if you open the glue. Which I started to do before, and then I switched gears, but I really should have put it on it and then inked around so that I could ink that little corner while I was at it. And while I have the glue out, I'm going to ink this little guy here. Not the glue. While I have the ink out. Words. They're hard. Okay. There we go. So I gave him a little bit of ink as well. I'm going to close this up. And then I cut out some little flowers out of the Designer Series paper. So I fussy cut some little flowers out. And I'm just going to use that as a little accent on the inside of the card. And actually, I'm going to use the liquid glue again so that I can make sure it's not going anywhere. Oh, goodness. There we go. I'm just going to put it down on the bottom of my card like that. So it still gives you plenty of room to write something. It's just a little accent piece in there. And then we'll glue it to the inside. Of the card. Cute, cute. All right, so on to the outside. So the piece that we need, I used a piece of the old olive, and I did not measure it, so it's 2.5 by 4 1/4. So the old olive is 2.5 by 4 1/4, and that's what our little birds are going to go on to. We also need to punch, and I used Pear Pizzazz. We're going to punch 2 punches from the sprig punch. And then I had cut out another piece of the DSP, and those are the elements that we're going to use on the front of the card. So before we do that, though, I'm going to go ahead and grab my blends. Oh, I love these things. If you've watched my videos, you know that already, but I just love these markers. They really do make you feel like an artist. So I'm going to start with the light smoky slate. And I kind of wanted these to look like little, I don't know, chickadees, I guess. And there's some birds in the paper that look almost like this. So that's kind of the inspiration. So I started with my light smoky slate and just sort of went around. And of course, they don't all have to be the same because no two birds will ever be alike. So there we go. And then I took my light crumb cake and I blended into that smoky slate. And then I took my dark smoky slate and I just hit a few accents for some shading. And they kind of have the lines already drawn on there wherever you would hit it with a little dark for some shading. They kind of tell you already what to do. And then last but not least, this is actually the color lifter, but I like it because it sort of also blends a little bit. So I took a little bit and I went around the center where I left that white, and it sort of blends it out so that you don't have, you know, such a stark difference between what you had and then the white spot in there. All right, so this is my dark crumb cake, and that's what I'm going to do my little branch with. I'm going to hit the leaves with the light old olive. These markers are just the coolest. They blend so easily together. And then I'm going to take the dark old olive and just hit the leaves just a little bit to give them a little dimension. And then last but not least, I took the dark Pool Party and I just sort of colored this just a little bit in the center. Sort of just ties in that Designer Series paper, but I didn't want them all blue, so I just hit them with just a little bit of color, just so that they weren't white. All right, so there is that. How cute is that, huh? All right, so then I'm going to take some glue dots, and I'm going to glue my sprigs together here, if I can pick them up. There we go. Decide how I want them. Kind of wanted them staggered a little bit. And then I'm going to take another one and glue it to the back of my little birds there. Like so. And I'm realizing that on this one, I didn't do the words down far enough. So I'm going to switch up my ribbon just a little bit. I'm also going to take the old olive ink and I'm going to ink the edges of my old olive piece here. All right, like that. And then the birds are going to get glued on. Well, actually, first I'm going to glue the piece of old olive onto my card. Now, I stuck it over on this side of the card because of the way that the box is. So I could do it over here, but it's not straight. So I did it over here. And I think it just adds, because we're going to put the sprigs over there anyway. So I think it adds a little interest as well. It's not, I really struggle with not being symmetrical, but you know. Come on. Yep, it's time to pull another one out, I think. This one's fading away. And I use the liquid glue again because of the shape of the front of the card, and I want it to stay on the card. And this is easier to do with the chocolate bar in it because it gives you something to glue, something for you to push down on. Don't break your chocolate bar. That would be sad and tragic. All right, and then I'm also going to glue the little flowers onto the bottom of the little birds here. And then the birds are going to get some dimensionals. So I'm going to put some over here. It's probably overkill, but that's all right. We're going to go with it. And then we'll put him in the center. And there he is. All right, so do I want ribbon? No, this isn't really ribbon, it's baker's, the white baker's twine. Tie a little bow with the baker's twine. And decide if I really, oh, that's all right. I think I'll put it right up there. So I'm going to take a glue dot. When you're using thin baker's twine like this, you can actually take these and roll them with your finger. Roll them onto themselves so that they'll be just a little bit smaller and they won't show up behind your thin ribbon that you're using. So there we go. There is project number 5 for World Card Making Day. Just a little chocolate holder, little chocolate treat for a friend. And again, you could switch it up. And I actually think I like this one better. I like all the sponging on it. I think it adds interest, so super cute. Anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you've enjoyed all the videos and you've come to play along and you are enjoying some creative time yourself today. The sun is actually shining in northern New Hampshire, but it is a little chilly out there, so hope you're staying warm with a cup of coffee and creating for today. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you've had a great day and you have a great rest of your weekend. Happy stamping!